So with these cottonwoods, it's at least a species of poplar. I'm not sure exactly which kind, but we can see that it's likely in this park that they were planted about the same time. We have two of these trees that are about the same size. One of them's thriving and maybe a little bit younger, and one of them is dying. Because we haven't been following this tree, I don't know if that's something that's been quickly set on or if that's something that's been happening over the last couple of years. But as we walk closer to it, we can consider some of the different problems to look out for. First of all, cottonwoods are known to be fast-growing trees. That's one reason we love them so much. But fast-growing trees are often putting more energy into above-ground growth and not as much energy into a healthy root system or a healthy immune system. So they tend to be shorter-lived trees. So even though we see these huge cottonwoods in the bosque, a lot of those trees are not they're not hundreds of years old. They're maybe 70 years old, 50 years old, even maybe 100. But even then, they're declining at a rate that is pretty fast. And so it's not considered a good landscape tree for most of our New Mexico situations anymore because they need so much water and they grow fast, but they also die pretty young. So branch dieback is a big problem in cottonwoods. Again, we're talking about the energy that goes into growing fast is not necessarily put into having real strong branch angles, and the wood is not as strong, so it's a softwood tree. One of our master gardeners said that when she was growing up, her dad said, you won't likely find a bird's nest in a cottonwood tree because the birds know that those branches break. So I use that as an example of, so you're going to have some branch breakage even in a good situation, and this tree doesn't seem to have very much yet, but we expect that it will. The tree behind it, and trying to diagnose what happened with that tree, it's hard to say. Could it be that when they did some construction, they damaged some of the roots of that tree and it hasn't been able to grow back? That's possible. Was it going to die back no matter what they did? I'm not exactly sure. Now that we get closer to it, I do think that it's older. It seems like a larger trunk than this. So maybe this one was planted more recently because that one was already declining. Yeah, so that browner color that's like kind of an orangey, that is likely some sort of, it's like a stain, a bacterial stain from what I guess is probably slime flux. You can also see it in this tree that's healthy though. So if we get closer to it and you were to stand on a little ladder and smell it, I bet it would smell like really strong nail polish remover. It's this fermenting bacterial juices called slime flux. There are other species of this organism that does infect wood, but it's not. You can't really treat for it or do anything like that. So it's nothing that's recommended. It's just a little bit unsightly and kind of smells bad. Because there is some fermentation that's happening in this little mucky area there, there'll be insects that are attracted to it, and fly larvae you'll find them in there, but that's not a cause of the problem. They're just taking advantage of that alcohol decay. And there is some evidence from research in Arizona that the bacteria that is causing what we call slime flux may be actually helping to keep the fungal organisms, fungal populations down a little bit, and it may actually slow decay of the plant. You usually see this happening where there's a crotch, which is an angle in the tree branches that is a tight angle, and there's some decay down in that angle, and so that's a really common place to see this starting. Or it can be found where there's branches that have either broken off or been pruned, and you'll see it's almost like it's weeping. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw it happening here. So what happens when you have these branch angles that are tight like this, they say that a peace sign is not a strong angle, that actually as these branches, because of this one identifier that this could be a problem, is that both of these main branches are a similar diameter. So that means that over time, like right now they look okay, but as they're growing, each is getting fatter, and so they start to push against each other, and that causes this weak spot here that then is prone to fungal and bacterial populations and some decay in there, and that's a prime spot for slime flux. similar to what was happening there, is some sort of decay happening at that branch angle. So surface roots are really common in turf settings, but they are not, it's not caused by the turf per se. A lot of times surface roots are caused by not watering deeply enough to encourage the tree roots to be at a healthy zone and then the grass roots to be up higher above it. So what happens is you have surface roots and then mowers go over it and damage the plant over and over again. So this is an example of this damage that is, it's irreparable. It's not necessarily killing the tree, but it's not a healthy thing for it either. And in these exposed roots, you can see some evidence of borer activity. So it may be that this root died some time ago and the borers are eating the dead wood. It may be that this type of borer eats live wood and caused damage to the tree, but the tree overall still looks pretty healthy. I do see some mistletoe. It's like darker and real small leaves down in the canopy, so we can see that more easily in the winter once the true leaves have fallen off of this tree.